You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode number 82. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to talk about how to re-enroll clients. So what this means is, let's say you start working with paying clients and they're getting lots and lots of value. You might start wondering, okay, how do I get them to hire me again? Or what do we do after they finish the program that I created or the series of sessions that I offered them? So I'm going to break down for you the best strategy I recommend to re-enroll clients and how to set yourself up for that. So that way you can keep working with your awesome clients and you can make more money and you can make a bigger difference in their lives. So as I go into the exact strategies, I want you to understand a couple of principles when it comes to just running your business. So one principle to understand is that if someone gets value, it only makes sense for them to want more value. Okay, right? If someone is already getting value, it only makes sense for them to want more value. Okay, so if you feel greedy or selfish or weird by offering more support to someone, I want you to let all that go because it's simply not true. It is generous and it is kind for you to offer more to your clients, to make yourself available to them, even when you finish what you originally offered them. It's like telling someone, hey, I'm not going to leave you behind. I'm still here for you. I still want to work with you. Versus just throwing someone out going, okay, good luck with your life. Hope everything's good. So if you are a loving, compassionate person, it is only loving and compassionate to re-invite someone to continue working with you after they finish a first round. So the second principle to understand is that a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So what does that mean? What this means is that when someone buys from you once, they are more likely to buy from you again, assuming that they gotten value from their first purchase. Okay. So think about some store or brands that you enjoy. It could even be a restaurant that you like, right? After you enjoyed that restaurant or after you purchased some item from the store and you liked it, did you go back and buy more? Did you go back to that store again? Probably yes, right? Like I remember growing up, especially with clothing, I just get really hooked onto a certain clothing brand and I just become so loyal to the brand. So growing up, I didn't care much about what I was wearing until middle school when that peer pressure started to come in. And I wanted to look a little bit preppy, so I'd start shopping at American Eagle. And I remember I would go to the mall and I would go straight to American Eagle and I would stock up on everything that they had. I would stock up on all the jeans and the polos and the sunglasses and the belts and everything. And I would come home and my whole wardrobe would just basically my closet looked like it was just an American Eagle store. And I had all the different colors, all the different shades. And I remember one time my mother would criticize me. She'd say, you already have a polo in that color. I'm like, no, but it's a different shade. So I was very loyal to the brand. And it's kind of like how I am now with certain stores as well. Like I really like J. Crew. I really like sportswear. I like REI and Under Armour and Nike. And I just find myself like I really gravitate towards certain brands. And even when it comes to technology, I'm an Apple guy. So once I got my first MacBook, I've continued to own MacBooks. I purchased more of them. I got the iPhone, the AirPods, the whole thing. So the point I'm making here is that a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. Okay, so many coaches, they're amazing at what they offer. They sell their coaching package or program. Their clients get amazing value, but they're forgetting or not knowing this principle. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So how are you currently allowing people the opportunity to get more from you, to re-enroll, to get added support because they already want it since they got value the first time. So you're only allowing them the opportunity to receive more of what they already want. Following me here? Okay. So for this episode, I'm gonna go with a very simple example because I know that some of you might have different types of offerings. I'm gonna go with a standard offering. Let's imagine that you have a bundle of coaching sessions that you're selling. Let's say you have 12 coaching sessions that you sell as a bundle. Okay, so you're not selling coaching sessions one-off, hire me for this session, hire me for this session. You are selling a bundle, or we call it a package of 12 coaching sessions. Someone hires you, they get 12 sessions that they're going to work with you. This is often a good way to start if you have no idea or you're just afraid and you're not really sure. I recommend just offering a bundle of 12 sessions. So you can tailor the strategies I'm going to share on this episode based off of the way you're offering or packaging your coaching right now. You can just adjust given what I'm sharing here. So again, you don't have to offer 12 session packages. You don't have to do that. I want you to more understand the principle and the framework of re-enrolling so you can adapt it to meet your needs. So the first thing you want to do is you want to have a way of tracking your clients' progress throughout their work with you. Okay, so on episode 72 of this podcast, it's called How to Measure the Progress of Your Life Coaching Clients. So I go a lot deeper in that episode on how to make sure that you are tracking the progress your clients are making. So for example, you could be giving them a survey or a form to fill out when they start working with you, and then at that halfway point, and then at that around the end point of when they finish up their package of 12 sessions, okay? So another way that you can track your clients' progress is at the end of your coaching sessions, one of the questions that could be helpful is asking clients, what was the biggest value you got from our session today? What was most valuable about our session today? So I recommend that you write down your client's answer to this question. And what this does when you ask this question is it's affirming for the client, okay, I'm getting value. This is valuable. I am making progress. This is really working, right? So they're continually reminded of the value that they're getting by you asking that question, what's the biggest value you got from this session today? Now, if they're not getting value, then of course, get curious with your client and ask them what needs to change, what do you really need to focus on with them, or how else can you support them to make sure that they are getting value. So this is something that you're asking from session 1 all the way throughout, okay? Another thing to do is celebrate their wins, okay? Celebrate all your clients' wins and make sure you are tracking all of the wins that they're having. So one question you can ask in the beginning of a coaching session is, what has been your biggest win or success since our previous session? What has been your biggest win or your biggest success from when we last spoke? Now, it can be a small win, it could be a big win, but what this does is it helps your client, again, see that they're making progress. A lot of people are just not really good at this because they're so focused on the problem in front of them that they don't realize the progress that they're making. I have to remind our coaches a lot in the academy just how far they've gotten in 2 months because they're like, oh, but I know I could be doing better. I know that I could still be learning this. I'm like, wait a second. 2 months ago, you barely knew how to coach, and look at the way you're coaching right now. So it's really important for you to have a way to get your clients to share their progress, big or small, and celebrate even the littlest wins that they're having throughout. Again, this is going to affirm for your client, I am making progress. This is valuable. I'm getting so much from this, okay? So another thing that you want to do is have some kind of, I shared this earlier, but I want to talk a little bit more about it, having a midway evaluation survey or form for your client to fill out, okay? So this is, you can make a form on Google Forms, very simple. And it's a series of questions that helps your client realize the progress that they've been making. Okay, so you might ask them things like, what's been your biggest take win so far from our work together? What's been the most valuable part about it for you? You might even ask them, what ways can I improve the quality of our sessions, if any? This is where you will just help them start to share their experience. And it's good feedback for you as well if there's anything that, they could receive more of or they're not getting that you could begin to offer them. I think data and feedback is so powerful for you to get, especially when you're early on. You really want to be obsessed with getting feedback from your clients. It's only going to support you and it's going to help you show up at the best possible way for them. Okay? So again, I go a lot deeper into this on that episode 72, how to measure and track your client success. Now, here's the part that I really want to reveal to you all. This is the most important part. And I call it opening the door to re-enrollment. So this is how you start bringing it up. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that coaches make is they just wait until the very final coaching session that they had. So in this example, we're going with 12 sessions. So they'll wait until session 12, and then after session 12 finishes, they suddenly and abruptly bring it up to the client. Hey, do you want to keep working together? Or, hey, do you want to hire me for another 12 sessions? Okay? So this is something that you don't want to do. You actually want to open the door to re-enrollment earlier on in your progress working with them. So session 10, or about like 75% of the way through working with someone, that's when you want to open the door to re-enrollment and get the conversation going. And I'm going to share with you exactly what you can ask and how you can go about having that conversation. I'm going to break it all down for you. Okay. One of the other mistakes coaches make that causes them to unintentionally close the door to re-enrollment is coaches will refer to the 12th session as the last or the final session. Okay, so notice if you might be doing this with your clients, if you're saying things like, oh, I can't wait to, we're going to have so much to celebrate in our last session together. Or, okay, I'll see you next week for our final session. Because what you're doing is you are basically telling the client this is it. Right? So you're priming them to believe that this is the end. And even if you want them to re-enroll or you're open to that possibility, by you calling it the last or the final session, it sends this signal like the journey is over. So energetically and mentally, they start closing this loop in their brain like, okay, this is now done. I'm finishing up my coaching. You don't want the loop to be closed. You want it to actually expand. Okay? So if you think about as you're working with a client, you are creating this loop, and then as that loop starts to come full circle, we're going to open it back up again rather than have it come to completion. Okay? So instead of calling the 12th session the last or the final session, you just call it the 12th session. Okay? You can just say our next session. Right? See you for our next session, or okay, next week is our 10th session, or next week is our 12th session. Don't call it the last or the final session because it really might not be, and they might not want it to be either. So when you get to about 75% of your work with a client, so in this case around session 9, session 10, what you want to do for the purposes of this, I'm just going to go with session 10. So when you finish session 10 with your client, as you're wrapping up that call, you will say to your client, you'll ask your client for permission to extend the 11th session to talk about next steps working with you. Okay, so I'll say that one more time. At the end of your 10th session, you ask your client permission to extend the 11th session, which would be the next session, to talk about next steps. So you might say, I've really been enjoying working with you. Would it be okay if at the end of our next session, we extended it 15 or so minutes so we can talk about the progress you've made and also establish what the next few months will look like for you? Keep it very simple, and your client will say, yes, of course, wonderful. Now, one of the recommendations I also would offer is that, if you're having 45-minute sessions, which I think is a really good duration for your sessions, there's no ideal length, but I think that's a solid one when you're getting started. It's very easy to extend it 15 minutes because now it's just going to be a full hour, and it's very likely that person already has the remaining 15 minutes of the hour available to them. Okay? So At the 10th session, you're asking permission for extension of the 11th session. So let's talk about now what happens in that 11th session. So in the 11th session, you are doing your normal coaching with your client. And then after you finish, this is where you're gonna have that check-in. Now, this is really important. So listen up to this part. This is the really important part, the check-in. So you can begin this by saying to your client, client, I just wanna start by revisiting where you were when we first started working together, when you came to me, and when you came to me, what I remember you shared with me is that here's what was going on in your life. So you can just summarize very briefly where your client was when they started working with you. So then you can ask them, okay, so where are we at right now? What is it that you want to celebrate? So your client will acknowledge the progress they've made. And then of course, it's great to just acknowledge that and say, awesome, congratulations, this is so exciting. I'm so glad you've been able to accomplish blah, blah, blah. I really enjoyed working with you. I really appreciate blah, blah, blah about you. Of course, you're going to be genuine and sincere with your clients. And here's where you'll say something like, I would really love to build on the success that we've already created. So where is it that you want to be 1 year from now? And you could adjust 1 year to whatever makes sense for you and who you're working with. It might be, where do you want to be 1 month from now, or 3 months from now, or 6 months from now? Okay, so have your client start creating a new vision. Okay, so visioning is one of the tools we teach in greater depth in the academy. You're just helping them create a picture of, okay, where do I want, what's going to be next for me? So after your client shares where they want to be in the next 3, 6 months or 1 year, then you can ask them, okay, what challenges do you think could get in your way of that? Or what could stop you from reaching this vision? So they're going to start sharing their challenges. They're going to start realizing, okay, there might be some things that get in my way. Maybe it would be nice if I had some support. This is what's going to be going on inside their brain. Then a question you can follow up with is, how important is getting to blank to you on a scale from 1 to 10. So blank is going to be what they explained in their vision. How important is getting to blank? How important is it for you to get that on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being you totally find it so valuable and important. 1 would be not at all. Okay, and this is where you'll say, okay, well, the good news is that our work doesn't need to end after our next session. So would it be okay if I talked about how we can continue our work together? And at this point, your client just acknowledged their progress. They've talked about where they want to be next in the next chapter of their life. They've acknowledged some challenges that they hear might get in their way. And they've also acknowledged that it's going to be important for them. So this is where you can reveal to your client that you'd be happy to work with them and offer them another bundle of sessions. Or if you have some kind of tiered level of offerings where maybe they start out with these sessions with you, and then maybe there's a more VIP or a higher level type of support you offer. This is where you're going to explain that to them and reveal it to them. Let's say you don't have any of that, which is fine. Then you would just say, all right, so what I would love to go over is the opportunity to work with you for an additional 12 sessions. You can just offer the same thing again, okay? Except it's not going to be more of the same because they've just revealed the new focus, the new vision that they have, okay? So one of the things I also like to include when I'm going over the re-enrollment conversation, I like to tell my clients that the second time, when I have clients hire me a second time, there's so much more momentum and it's so much easier for them to get results because they've already created such a good foundation. So they're able to just build off of everything we've already covered and actually have faster and better results than the first series of sessions. Because the first bundle of sessions, they might really need to do work just starting to notice what's going on in their brain. And then once they get a handle of that, they start, taking action and getting results. And now you can just build off of that and have this snowball effect with a second series of sessions. So I like to explain that that's typically what I see happen with clients. Okay. And after you let your client know, okay, so here's how it will work, we will continue to work together. Let them know that you would like for them to have that decision by the end of your 12th session, which would be the next session. And the reason, I mean, you could right on the spot after you present it to them at the end of the 11th session, you can say, you know, how does that sound to you? Is that something you'd be interested in? What questions or concerns do you have about that? Make sure you answer as much as you can while you are on the phone or on video call or in person, wherever you are meeting your client. Okay, because you don't want to just let them go off and let their fearful brain just take over that decision. You want to navigate it with them as you are having that re-enrollment conversation. Okay, so ask them how it sounds to them, and you can give them the opportunity to re-enroll. Now, for some people, they will say, great, I'd love to do it. How could we just get that started? You say, awesome. Well, it's just going to be another blank. Let's say you're charging $3,000 for your 12 sessions. You can say, great, it'll be another $3,000. I'll go ahead and send the invoice over to you right now. And what I would recommend you do is just stay with them, stay on the phone, and process the invoice, or however it is you collect your payment with your client. Right? So now they just get to have this relief. I want you to understand like the psychology too that's going to be going on for your client. Now they're just relieved that, oh, that next session's not going to be the last one. I don't have to be upset about this journey ending. This is like the start of another chapter for me. How exciting is this that I get to keep working with this amazing coach? I'm so grateful for that. This doesn't have to end. I get to build off of everything we've worked on together. Okay? So yes, you can absolutely re-enroll the client even before they finish their first series of sessions with you, or they went through the first leg of your program. You can re-enroll them before they finish. Like I've done that a lot with clients, and they're really grateful for that because they know that, okay, the journey's not ending. The loop has been opened, okay? Now, in some cases, your client might say, you know what, I want to think about it. I don't know if I can decide right now. So how does that work? And you can say, totally fine. What I would recommend you do is that you let me know sometime before the 12th session. So that way, when we go into that call, we can know if it's going to be a session of closure where we can, acknowledge your progress, and I could take a moment to do that, or if it's just going to be an opportunity for us to set a new vision for you and to get clear about what you want the next 3 months or the next 12 sessions to look like. Okay. So again, this is something that is kind of you to do, because that 12th session is going to be very different if it really is the last session, or if it's the continuation and the starting point of a new series of sessions. You're going to navigate that 12th session very differently. Okay. So you could, if you want, if the client wants to think about it, you could say, great, how about we follow up in a couple of days? I'll put you in the calendar just so we could get clear about, deciding to continue to work together. And that way we know exactly how to navigate that 12th session with each other. So I always recommend, if someone wants to think about it, I would invite them to have a follow-up within a day or two, because anytime after that, usually life can get in the way and the inspiration can fade. And I will tell clients this. I'll say, listen, I know you want to think about it. What I find sometimes happens is that if we let too much time go on, our inspiration can fade. So how would it sound if we had a follow-up tomorrow or within 48 hours? And pretty much every time people are fine with that. And they're appreciative of it, because they know that, their brain is probably going to distract them if the decision go on for too much time. Okay. So that's really how you can re-enroll clients. Now, I want to give you a couple of other tips and things to consider as you do this. So one is if your rates are changing. So I've had a lot of coaches, especially inside the academy, they sometimes double or triple their rates so quickly because their confidence goes up and they start having amazing success and their business grows. So maybe you worked with a client, this month, but then 3 months from now, you're already charging an extra $1,000 per client. You've given yourself a raise. So you might think, okay, how do I do that if I started working with a client at $3,000, but now I'm charging $5,000. Do I offer that client the same exact investment? Now, of course, it's your business and it's your call. Or maybe you're in a transition point where you are soon going to be raising your rates. So I just want to offer a little bit to consider when you're having this happen. I believe that when you are looking to raise your rates, I think it's good practice to let your current clients know that you will be raising your rates, so that way they can have a period of time to take advantage of your current rates. Okay, so it's not like a surprise to them. So for example, if you're charging $3,000 per client and you are looking to raise your rates to $5,000 next month, I think it is good practice to give a heads up to your current clients and say, listen, and you could do this just by sending an email or just at the end of a session with your clients, you can say, listen, I want to just, in the spirit of full transparency, I want to let you know that my practice has grown and my business is growing. I'm so grateful to that. And I will be raising my rates very soon. I want to give you a heads up on that. Here's when the rates will change. Here's what the new rate will be. And, I want to give you that heads up, because if you want to take advantage of my current rates, then you're able to do that until this day. And that day can be, whenever the deadline is. Okay, so that might incentivize people to continue to re-enroll with you, because they're like, oh, well, I already love working with this coach. I already see them as so valuable. So you know what? Just add me in for another 12 sessions at the $3,000 rate, because I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want to, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So again, a lot of clients will be very appreciative that you are giving them that heads up and letting them know about the rates that are being changed. And by the way, it's totally normal to raise your rates. This is part of running and growing a business. So there's no reason to feel upset or bad about it. I think that your clients, again, are going to be so grateful when they realize that you're giving them that opportunity to take advantage of the current rates, so it's not a surprise to them. Okay. Another thing you might want to consider is some kind of loyalty discount or a loyalty bonus. So perhaps when someone re-enrolls with you because they are, showing loyalty and working with you, they get some kind of discount or bonus. So maybe it's, if you re-enroll, you get 10% off or 15% off. And that's only if they re-enroll consecutively. So it's not like, okay, if I re-enroll a year from now, I'll get 15% off. So you would tell your client, I do have a loyalty incentive or a loyalty bonus, where if you do decide to just extend our sessions together and keep it all consistent, then you will get 15% off. And I would also let clients know that the reason you incentivize this is because what you've found is that the clients that just keep working with you, their momentum continues, and they get better results because they're not having to put so much effort in. If they were to start working with you, stop working with you, start working with you, stop working with you. It's just like when you go to the gym, right? The more consistent you are with the gym, the better your results are going to be, versus if you go to the gym 1 month and then disappear for a few months and then come back. It takes so much time to get back into that momentum. So that might be a good metaphor for you to share with a client so they understand how that works, okay? So you can offer that loyalty bonus or loyalty discount or some kind of bonus. Okay. So the bonus, sometimes you just might feel better about that if you don't really want to discount your services. I don't blame you, and you don't have to do it, but you can offer some kind of bonus. So maybe it's, if you decide to re-enroll with me, you'll also get a bonus session thrown in. So instead of 12 sessions, you're actually going to get 13 sessions. Again, that's only if you decide to re-enroll for this period. It does not count if you decide to work with me like a month from now or a year from now. Or maybe there's some kind of resource you've created, a template, a video, a guide, something else of value that they get when they decide to re-enroll with you. So that's another way for you to provide more value and also encourage them to keep working with you. So think about what are some incentives that your clients might want, so they'll want to keep working with you. Now, you can also, as you're to really approach this intelligently, when you're working with your client for the first series of 12 sessions, you might think about, what is an additional resource that would be beneficial for this client? What is another form of value I can offer them? Like, can I make a video for them or create a guide or a workbook or an audio file or whatever it is? What can I offer them that's going to help them address some of the challenges that I've been working with them on? Then you can go ahead and create that and and let them know that, this is something that they will get when they hire you again. Okay. So that is what I got on how to re-enroll clients. I want you to remember as I finish this up, the 2 principles I shared in the beginning, which is that if someone gets value, it only makes sense for them to want more value. Okay. And a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So remember the opportunity you have with the people that are already hiring you. If they're loving your coaching, which I'm sure they are, especially if you've gone through the academy, they're going to love your coaching anyway. So why not offer more of yourself to them so that way they can continue to get support? Okay, that's what I got in this episode on how to re-enroll clients. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coach's secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.